Hello once again, audience, to another devlog. So before I start, I want to talk about two things. We've got the good news, and then we've got the bad news. So we're gonna do a coin flip. It's heads! Oh my god! So good news first. I've got a new camera. So now we're actually running at 1080p 60 FPS, and we aren't limited by the ancient mini USB, which is what my old camera was. And it was a bro moment, but we're gaming now. But now for the bad news. So university is starting up again very shortly. It could literally even be the day that this is going up. So this is going to kind of complicate the consistency with these videos. Because I really want to try and keep it weekly, but there's sort of a triangle of time, and I can only fulfill two of those corners. So I can sacrifice schoolwork, my sleep schedule, or working on these videos. I don't want to sacrifice any of them, so I'm going to try and balance it the best I can. So my main videos will either be more sporadic or shorter and could take longer. But again, I'm going to try to avoid that. I just want to let you all know what's up, though. Yeah, we'll see what the future holds. I'll try to be as consistent as I can with the devlogs, but we'll see how that ends up. What might happen is that I'm going to have a lot more other types of videos in between, just because the devlogs aren't really super hard to make, but it's just the time commitment of having to work on the game for days at a time. That's really the difficult part of making these devlogs. And so I might try to pump out a few videos where, you know, I could go from nothing to a finished video in just a few hours. I think sometimes those are a little easier to make. Anyways, sorry for the info dump. Let's get into the gaming. So first off, I removed Cinemachine. Partially because of what the Cinemachine project said, a shout out. Just how Cinemachine can kind of be a pain sometimes to get working right. And I sort of found that myself too. There wasn't really anything necessarily that like really got me going on this whole removing Cinemachine thing, but I just kind of felt like it was time. Cinemachine is fine. It's kind of cool, but it's really complicated, but really simple at the same time too. It's hard to control it manually, but then at the same time, I feel like the features it does give me are really basic in terms of what I want to do with the camera. And so that's kind of the reason why I wanted to get rid of it. I wanted more control over the camera and be able to do the things I want to do with it. So bye-bye Cinemachine. Another thing I did is I made some changes with how the player picks up the objects, or just objects in general. So I made it so you can scroll and then that moves the object in and out. Ayo. So it does work. It's a little extreme, but it works. You can really make this thing go far. Oh my god. And I also set a limit on how fast the objects can move, because what you could do before is you could throw them at light speed, basically, as fast as you want, and then you can throw them through other models, and that's not a very good thing to have. So I set a limit now. They still go really fast, but it's not so fast that they morph through other meshes. So that's good. A lot of the work too with this devlog was just more objective stuff. So I made a new image for the outdoor keycard. And that's basically just a keycard you'll find somewhere in the lab, and that'll open up the outdoor airlock. I just want to add a keycard to that so it's not just an instant player can go outside immediately. I want there to be a little bit more of a process to get to that point. Also fix a lot of issues with objective skipping. So basically if the player has already gone through the facility and done something for an objective before the objective happened, I don't want to break the game. So basically I'm checking if someone already did something and just immediately skips the objective. And I think that's a good thing ultimately. It gives the player a little bit more freedom. It's not like they're always having to follow every single objective exactly. They can sort of go do their own stuff, and then maybe they happen to do something they were supposed to do. And so I'll probably be doing that a lot more in the future with all the objectives, really, just so I can try to make the gameplay as free as possible and not so railroady. Sort of strike a balance between, you know, I like the linear progression of the objectives, but obviously I don't want that to be the only way to play the game, if that makes sense. Also modeled a window sealant bottle, because basically I want this little segment where the monster will break your window, so you know you have to go to the lab, you have to get the window sealant, you have to bring it back and squeeze the window sealant on the window, but it doesn't do anything yet. I just kind of put it there just to have it there so I can put the functionality in after. So I'll have to do that. Honestly, a lot of these things, it's sort of me just putting them into the game. They don't really work yet, but they're there so I can go through and make them fit into the gameplay. Is that a bad thing? Maybe. Maybe it's a really bad thing and I'm shooting myself in the foot. But also maybe it's a good thing so that I can get the gameplay going and I don't have to spend forever working on every little thing linearly. So, yeah, on that same note, I added all of the objectives for the entire game. At least, you know, what I think I need right now. I'll probably be changing those at some point. But I basically have it laid out for the player to play through the entire game. Obviously, you can't get to all the objectives yet because I haven't added the stuff into the game to be able to complete them. But they're there, so. And more objective work. I modeled the outdoor power station. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But now I'm at a point with the game where this is sort of the next objective I have to work on, so I needed to model that. So for the power station, I sort of based it off of a geothermal reactor. It doesn't really matter at all. It doesn't change anything about the game. Initially I was thinking like a nuclear reactor. I don't know. I mean, it could be a nuclear reactor. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It could be a nuclear reactor if I say it's a nuclear reactor. I don't know. Because maybe I could have a sequence where it blows up, but I don't know how I'm going to fit into the gameplay right now, so I just made it like a geothermal reactor. And basically the reason for having that is that the player will have to go repair the reactor because the power goes out, and you can't open the big door to put the submarine back into the water if the power's out, so they have to go fix it. So right now there's basically just a big button on the power station, and the player has to go press the big button because the monster pressed the big off button. And I think that's kind of stupid, but it's just the easiest thing to set up right now. I might change it so the player has to like repair something on the station. Maybe like one of the pipes is broken from the monster. Something like that. I don't know. I'll see. Again, it's just really that thing of like, this is in the game now, and then I can go back and make it better. I really want to get this gameplay loop set up so that I can play through the whole game and other people can play through the whole game and I can get the Steam page set up. That's kind of my main goal and focus right now. And then after the gameplay is set in stone, I can go back through and clean up and polish everything. But it's just such a time sink to do that while I'm also trying to design and implement all the gameplay. And so I want to try my best to separate that and push the polish off until later so that I can sort of get into a groove of finishing the gameplay first. And yeah, now with the power station there, I finished that cable that I had before from a while ago. Obviously it's just a little guy dangling out in the sea, but now I modeled the rest of it out. Not really much to say about that, but it connects up to the power station now. I still need to like decide how I'm going to connect the other end into the facility because right now it's just kind of laying there. I'll just have to model some more stuff. It's a lot of modeling. I can see why modeling is a full-time job for games because I feel like 80% of my time right now is just modeling stuff. Because the code is really not that hard. I feel like with each little step, it's like, if there was someone modeling while I was coding and stuff and figuring out all the other stuff, I think it would go so much faster. But I don't know anyone who can model. So I guess I'm stuck doing it all. It's kind of a bruh moment, but I guess that's the woes of being an indie game developer. Yeah, anyways, I added another script because, you know, with the whole power off sequence, I want that to be sort of indicated by all the lights turning red and getting dark. So I added another script that is attached to all of the lights, and that will, sorry, I just thought of the song, the All of the Lights song. Play it right now, but really short because I don't want to get copyright claimed. But yeah, it just lets me control all the lights simultaneously. So FNAF Freddy power down. Lights are off. I can control that on all the lights. I did have some weird issues with this, actually, with the script, because I was initially setting the color and the low power state in the code, but it would just always be black for some reason. I don't know why. I was looking through all the Unity manuals. I was pretty sure I'm doing it right, but it just wouldn't turn into a color. It would always just default to black. And so I just changed it into a serialized field and just manually set it in the object instead of doing it dynamically with the code. And that seemed to work. I don't know why. I don't know why that works, but the code doesn't. So it's practically the same thing. So maybe a bug with Unity? I don't know. And I still don't know. It's a little annoying because if I ever want to do color stuff with the code, it just is not happy. But I don't know. At this point, it was time for a very important addition. So I want to add more monster AI stuff because that's a big part of the gameplay. And I will be going through and adding more of the interior AI for the monster, but I wanted to add the outdoor monster AI. And so basically the monster would just be kind of chasing you and trying to attack you while you're walking outside on the ocean floor to get to the reactor, the buoy, the whatever you call it, nuclear. It doesn't matter. I said it doesn't matter. And so to get started with this, I needed to set up a nav mesh, and this just kind of generates a big map on all the terrain of spots the AI can walk on. And this was really easy. This took me like 30 seconds. I added a nav mesh component or whatever to the terrain. I don't even remember. It was so fast I didn't even have time to process it, bro. Oh yeah, I just opened up the navigation tab window. Literally clicked like one button and it was done. So that was super easy. And then I just added a nav mesh agent component script onto a prefab for the monster, and it just works. It's really cool how easy the AI is to set up, and I loved it. There's a bunch of different variables and stuff you can control. You can set like the speed and the acceleration. It's pretty sick. I really wish like GameMaker had something like that where you can just set up the AI super easy like that. So just yet another, feel like there's usually one in every devlog, but yet another nice thing about Unity is how epic the AI is, the nav mesh AI. Yeah, made a prefab for that. Right now the monster is a capsule. It will not always be a capsule, but I don't know what model I want to do for the alien yet. I still haven't even animated and set up the one for the inside of the facility, so I'm gonna hold off on this one for a little bit. It's not really super necessary to get that model done anyways. It's just a visual thing. I can always do it really easily later since I made it a prefab. Yeah, basically for the AI, how I wanted to sort of work is that, well, I guess basically think of funny Doctor Who Weeping Angels, sort of. I want it to be where the monster will start walking towards the player when they're not looking at them, and then once the player flashes the monster with their flashlight, they will run away in a random direction really fast. It's this constant like battle of having to still make forward progress towards the reactor, but you have to look around and make sure you're not gonna die. The way I needed to set this up is that I needed to check for when the monster was in view of the camera, and I did have a little bit of trouble with this because there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. And the first two ways I went about it were bad. It didn't work. First, I tried using the onObject visible/invisible function, which is just like a thing built into all objects that you can do, like the update function or the start function. just like that. And it almost worked. The problem though is that these functions are based off of when the object is visible or invisible according to the scene, not necessarily the camera, which is kind of a bro moment. So like, you know, there's a buffer on the edges of the camera. So if you're looking at an object, even if it's outside of the camera, if it's within a certain zone, it'll still be rendered by the scene. And that's bad because I need it to be exact to the edges of the camera. I can't have it be still I tried another method with planes and axis aligned bounding boxes, and it's cool, but I couldn't figure it out because my brain, look at it, it's too small, it's too tiny. So I tried one last method, and for this, what I did is I converted real world coordinates in the scene to view coordinates, and this actually worked really well. So basically I can say, here's the coordinate of the monster, and then that will say that coordinate is at this spot on the camera. And it's really easy to do that then, because I can just say, well, if it's in the camera, then it's in the camera. Look at me trying to explain this. I'm so good at explaining it. I'm totally not just saying the same thing twice and pretending that it makes sense. But yeah, after doing that, it's pretty easy. I can just say when the flashlight's being shown on the monster, just set a random target position that it'll run away to, and that works. I made it random because, well, okay, I'm gonna tell you a little secret. I made it random because I couldn't figure out how to get the opposite position of the player coordinate relative to the monster, and I had a lot of issues with it. But another reason is that I just think moving it randomly is kind of nice because it's a little more unpredictable. It's not always just, oh, well, it's going to go at the opposite direction of the camera. It's kind of random where it goes. And technically that means the monster could go through the player sometimes, maybe. I'm not gonna fix it. It doesn't really even matter if it does happen. So it's fine. It's literally fine, guys. It's literally fine. But yeah, it's working pretty well. It's actually a little spooky, which is something nothing has been in this game so far, I feel like, which is not good for a horror game, but I'm just kind of pushing forward and hoping that it will get scary at some point. I think audio is going to be a really big part of the scare factor with this game, because obviously if we're trying to be atmospheric, I think audio is a huge part of being atmospheric. And so I think it's not scary because there's just no sound. And also I think it's not scary because I'm making it and I know everything and the inner workings of it all, and that just kind of makes it not scary anymore. Which honestly, I'm gonna go on this tangent right now, okay? Not related to the devlog at all, but I think this is a big problem with game design, is that you can never really truly experience your own game from the perspective of someone who hasn't played it. Because once you have experienced and made your own game, you are forever viewing it as someone who already knows everything about it. You can't understand what it's like for a new player to play your game. And I think that's sort of like a problem you have to tackle, is like really try hard to think through the perspective of someone that has no preconceptions or biases toward it. That could be like a whole video by itself, I feel like, because it's sort of a interesting concept. But yeah, anyways, back to the devlog. The devlog's over. That's all I did right now. I'm not gonna say that I didn't have as much time. I'm just gonna be real. I just didn't work on it. I think I don't want to burn myself out. I feel like for a minute there I was getting kind of close to doing that, and this was kind of like a good week just to take a little bit more of a break, I feel like. And obviously school's starting, so I can't promise that I'm gonna do more in the next devlogs, but we'll see. But yeah, future devlog, I'll probably be adding in this like a little radar tool so you can see where the monster is relative to the player. Because right now, well, like, okay, there's two ways I could go about it. I'll either do the radar or I'll just do it with audio. Without audio, though, it's basically impossible to tell where the monster's coming from, so it's going to be almost an instant death unless you're constantly circling around looking for the monster, so that's not the gameplay that I want. So I might do the radar. We'll see when we get there, okay? We'll see when we get there. I don't know why I'm so angry today, I don't know. Now I gotta think of a question of the day, and I haven't written it down in the script yet. No question of the day. You make your own question. I don't know. I can't really think of a question of the day. I apologize, but I really can't think of anything. I'm running a blank. But this is an opportunity for you to leave any suggestions and any ideas about anything about the game. Literally could be even sort of unrelated to the game development process. You could give me ideas for the Steam page. It doesn't matter. Anything. Do it up. Let's go crazy. Well, that's gonna be it for the devlog. I was a little goofy this episode. Hopefully that's fine. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more devlogs. Obviously, schedule might be weird, so if you want to subscribe and press that notification button, then YouTube will tell you when the next episode is out, because otherwise you might not know. So, okay, that's gonna be it for the devlog. Bye. You better add in all my funny edits, Ace Man, or I'm gonna freak out!